Hey, what's up? It's me, Gazbot, and it's day 53 of 100 Days of Making Comics. That's right, day 53, and I'm crossing the street. It's about 1:30. I just got done doing a character gig for a kid's birthday party at a park. I knew it was close to me. It was actually like less than 10 minutes away. I could have walked here if I didn't have all my caricature equipment. And it was good because I didn't have to use my easel, which is always a plus. I put on a ton of sunscreen, which is why I'm such a shiny biny, but I was in the shade, and overall it was good. I was a little stressed coming in because the mother had a lot of questions, and there was a timing issue, but it ended up being totally fine, and I think she was more worried that I was going to have a hard time, whereas I thought she was worried that it would be a problem for her. But yeah, all lovely people, everybody liked my work, great, good stuff, and I'm heading back now. I gotta make a few stops. I don't know, nothing exciting to say. I didn't take any pictures, unfortunately, but it was just, you know, normal kid stuff. There's a few, one of the more interesting ones is I did a kid bathing in lava in a volcano on fire, but he was happy about it, so that was fun. But what's funny is, like, I show it to him, and he's like, that's weird. And it's like, you asked for that, dude.
My car is very hot. I'm letting it air out while the air conditioner powers up.
While that happens, most jobs I do, not all, but most, many, most, end with somebody wanting drawings after I'm done. Now, sometimes it's a very busy job and it's like, oh, there's no way I could do everyone, there's 500 people. And then inevitably there are people who are like, hey, can you do me now that you're done? And sometimes it's more people trying to get an extra or whatever. So this job, there was like 17 kids I needed to do an hour and a half. I did them all, it was fine. I did 2 guests of honor in color. And I had like 5 minutes left, I'd done everybody. And there was one little girl that kept asking me, can you do doubles? And I was like, well, if I'm done with everyone at the end, I will do doubles or I'll do color. That's what I always say, and usually I don't have time. But in this case, the mother was like, you're done. I had 5 minutes left, and the little girl was like, does that mean you could do a double? I said, yes. I gave her a double, it was great, she was happy. Of course, 5 minutes later, every other kid was like, you're doing doubles? I'm like, no, she was just lucky. That's fine. But there was a guy there who had kind of got online before. He's like, who's next? I'm like, this kid, then this girl, and whatever. Now here's the thing, I draw adults all the time. I have no problem with that. I draw old people, it's part of my job. But I was there for the kids party, and when I'm there for the kids party, it's kids first. That's, you know, 99% of the time, that's the policy, and that was the policy at this. And he's like, oh, I'll be next. I'm like, I couldn't tell if he was kidding. He's like, I'm the biggest kid. I'm like, yeah, but I gotta do the kids first. I can't do you before I do a kid, you know, that's not fair. And so I talked to him a little bit, and then at the end, when I was drawing that girl, he came by and he's like, hey, can you do me now? And I'm like, I guess he was serious. And I'm like, no, I'm done. I said, she's my last one. And he's like, okay, so you can do me after? I'm like, no, I mean, I'm done after her. She's my last one, and then I'm done. And he's like, oh, okay. And then while I'm drawing her, like 3 other kids came up, hey, can you do another one? No, sorry, she's my last one. She got lucky. Oh, okay. So I turn away a few kids, get done with her, and he's talking to me about art. And he's talking to me, I'm gonna go in the car. Welcome to the car. And he's talking to me about, oh, you know, do you like art, and, you know, is this what you do for blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, yeah, this is what I do for a living. He's like, oh, it's not just a thing on the side. I'm like, no, this is, I get paid, this is how I make my living. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he's like, you know, he said something along the lines of like, English was a second language, so, you know, I mean, he spoke very good English, very well English, better than me, but he was clearly struggling with the words a few times. And he's like, you know, do you do other things, you paint other things? I'm like, well, I don't really paint. He's like, oh, draw. I'm like, yeah, I draw lots of stuff, but, you know, this is one part of it, and I make a living, blah, blah. Chatting me up, that's fine. I was fine with that conversation. I've had similar conversations at almost every job I've done. And then he's like, what was funny, then he was like, oh, how much do you believe is like a God give you versus work? And I'm like, well, you know, my opinion is I don't believe in talent, really. I think it's 99% hard work. That 1% is that maybe some people learn a little faster, but I think it's mostly hard work. Everybody I know that's any good has put in a lot of work. Even the people who are talented and geniuses and way better than me still work really hard at it. So no, I don't really believe in talent. And he's sort of like, oh. And I don't think that's the answer he wanted. He was like, oh. I'm like, I didn't say, and I said, man, that's just my opinion. That's just what I've seen, you know, like that's how I look at it. And he's like, oh, okay, I understand. And then time goes on, I finish her up, give it to her, she's great, and then he's like, okay, so you could do me? And I'm like, no, man, and this is the thing that really bothers me, because this happens a lot, where somebody will ask me, I'll tell them no, then I'll get all done, start packing up, and then they'll be like, oh, you could do me? It's like, this isn't the first time you've asked. I already said no. Why did you hang around here? And I think it's a guilt thing, like I'm supposed to be like, oh, he hung around for 10 minutes talking to me and he thought he was gonna get one, but he's like, no, he asked me, I said no, he hung around and talked, that's fine. But then it's like, no, I said no, why would you think? And then he's like, you can't stay for 5 more minutes? I'm like, if you're gonna pay me, and he's like, they already paid you, right? I'm like, yeah. up until a certain point, and then I'm done, you know, I'm off the clock. And he's like, oh, and I'm like, look, it wouldn't be fair. You saw me turn away like 3 kids that wanted drawings. I turned them away. Why would I then do you? I said, if anything, I would do another kid, because it's the party's for them. Like, doesn't that make sense? And he's like, yeah. And that's kind of what got him. I'm like, it wouldn't be fair that I turned away kids and I did you. And he's like, oh, all right, I understand. But it was kind of like the thing with the talent where he didn't like that answer. But I don't know. It's just a very common thing where people, I don't know, they feel very entitled or whatever. I don't understand it. Like, I don't mind asking, but if I say no, that's the end of it. Don't try to like guilt me into it, or like, I don't know. And again, like, I would do another kid before I would do him, you know? If he came by and said, oh, my daughter didn't get drawn, and I'm like, all right, I'll quick bust one out for the kid. But like, he's a grown-ass man. Like, he was 40, 50, I don't know how old he was, but he was as old as me or older, you know? I don't know, it was just weird. It was a really great job with the exception of that guy, who didn't ruin my day or anything, but I just don't understand that mentality. That weird, pushy, you got an answer, but you keep pushing for an answer, you know? And at first I thought maybe this is like the husband, the dad, in which case maybe I should kiss his butt a little bit since he's paying me, but it wasn't. He was just some guy, you know, like, I don't know. No, sir. Anyway, that's the end of that. Update. The woman who hired me was nice enough to offer me food and drink, which most are. I hardly ever take them up on the food. I occasionally take them up on the drink. In this case, on the way home, I was like, yeah, I'll have something. And they had this. I had never tried this. It's Izzle, sparkling, whatever. You know, I always interested me, though, because I like fruit sodas and things like that, even though I don't like fruit. And I kind of like orange juice if I had to drink a juice. And like, it was like, oh, these are like normally $1 or $2, but I'm interested. So yeah. And I picked the orange one, took a sip. It's vile. It's disgusting. I thought it was some kind of crazy diet one or an energy drink or something. Like, oh, this is like, what is this, Diet Red Bull? Ugh. But no, I'm looking at it, contains 70% juice. I guess it's supposed to be kind of healthy, but then it says not a low calorie food, and it's not. It's 90 calories, which is about what a soda would be, but a soda is delicious. It's still got sodium, it's still got sugar, 19 grams. And I'm like, well, but it should just be like orange juice then, and like maybe like fizzy orange juice. Ingredients: fruit juice blend, filtered water, that's first. Apple, white grape, then orange clementine, which I guess are the small oranges. Third, so it's apple and white grape with a little bit of orange. This is gross and not healthy. Why are people drinking this? Have a soda or juice. This is some horror show of neither. No. Izzle, Nizzle, my Izzle. Solution to bad Izzle. Starb Izzle. No. Back home, and something I realized I never did. This right here is the stack of the second printing. I only got 50 done, but I got them, and they didn't come in time for the show I wanted, and I haven't had a show since, so I never went through them. So I did actually go through them, make sure there's no errors. They're fine. The only difference between the first printing and the second printing, there are two. One, boom, a big ad instead of the nice artwork. So that was, you know, Kickstarter rewards, and people that supported it early got nice art instead of an ad. And second, on the inside, right there, second printing. So if that sort of thing matters to you, it's clear there as well. I'm going to go ahead and bag and board these. When I had 200 copies, I was leaving them in the box. They come shrink wrapped and they had a bunch of packing paper around them, but that made it heavier and that made it inconvenient to get to. So I'm going to go ahead and bag and board them all, throw them in there so it'll be a lot easier to deal with, to sell, etc. Not bad. Still a wall of stuff, but the best it's looked in a while. Believe it or not, that was like an hour or two of work of getting rid of old boxes, trying to fit stuff in the closet. A big problem I have is fitting stuff in the closet. Theoretically, I'll just throw it all in the closet. There is no room. It's at the point where you open the closet door, stuff falls out. I took some of that and put it under the bed. No room under the bed. It's boxes. It's just boxes. Also, I finished getting the comics ready, the second printing, as well as just sort of going through everything, all my con stuff, got it all boxed up, ready to go, so that this Friday, this weekend, I'll be able to just pack it up and go. And this weekend is a San Francisco con, and I'm kind of not looking forward to it. I didn't realize it was 3 days. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I'm especially not looking forward to Friday, because it's up in San Francisco, which is a 45-minute to an hour drive without crazy traffic. But there's going to be crazy traffic. So Friday, I'm probably going to either have to go up and deal with traffic, or maybe go up real early and just like hang out and have lunch and kill time rather than sit in traffic. I'm not sure. But the real bummer of it is, it's not worth me getting a hotel room up there because it's only theoretically an hour away. But that means I'm gonna have to go up to the city and back 3 days in a row. And I don't like that drive to begin with, so I'm not looking forward to that. I'm hoping, I have to look where the convention center is, but I'm hoping it's not too far in the city and where it's like in San Francisco, but not actually in the city. That's something I can hope for. Did you think I forgot about my 30 minutes? Well, I almost did. Not really, but I kind of went out. I had to return some things to the store, and then I took my time and messed around, and I was like, well, I did a lot of work in the house, and, you know, I was feeling good and productive, and then I got home watching TV, and Q's like, I'm going to bed. I'm like, yeah. Oh, I got to do my 30 minutes. Not a problem, but just, you know, I didn't intend to leave it to the end of the day. Also, I could have done more, but I didn't, and I still haven't. I've actually only done 18 of my 30 minutes. My computer, I started up, got it all ready to go. My computer, for some reason, the Cintiq and Photoshop, I don't know what the malfunction is, but sometimes the pen gets weird. Sometimes the thickness doesn't work, and if I restart Photoshop, then I can get the thin thick again. Sometimes it'll stop recognizing the stylus. I'll turn off Photoshop, it'll work, it'll show up on the monitor, turn on Photoshop, and there's probably a better way to fix it, but I don't know what it is other than restarting my whole computer. So I did that. I counted that in time because I was sitting down to work and whatever. Maybe arguably I shouldn't, but it was work time that I spent troubleshooting my program. And then I got back to work on page 6 and 7 of the roughs, which I just finished, which is why I'm talking now, even though I have a little more time to go. And this panel was almost done. I basically put in some more detail in the background and then put in some shading. This panel, whoa, it looks done. It is. I cheated. I pulled it from a page from issue 1. I don't know if I'm going to bother redrawing it or not because it was a much bigger panel. I'm going to erase Boots. I just sort of moved her over here because she's supposed to be walking away. But I kind of zoomed way in and cropped it differently. And I don't know. I'm torn about this. I may or may not use it. For right now, for this level, it's fine. But I feel like that's pretty much the shot I wanted. So it's weird if... Like, I mean, what am I going to draw over top of it again? I don't know. But regardless, these 2 pages done in the rough phase. So now I'm going to spend the next 12 minutes setting up the next 2 pages, see how far I could get in that. Probably not very far. Hey there! I'm doing that trick, once again, where time has passed, so I've moved the camera. But as usual, I'm going to set it right back here. That was lovely. Was that good? Seeing half of my hand and my face going... Anyway, I did my 12. I did more than 12. I didn't keep track. I think I did 12 basically setting up the page. I did some panel borders. I brought in the script. I brought in a reference for the librarian character, who I had sort of redesigned when I was in Chicago, and I couldn't find that sketch, so I went back to my original sketch. And I put him in a panel. I did my usual thing where I worked on one panel, and that was where I went over time. I actually finished a panel that probably was another 20 minutes to half hour. I didn't really count. I'm not in love with it. It's all right. It's just 2 figures, so it should be an easy one, but there's just something not 100% right about it, but I think part of it is that there's going to be word... Well, let me show you. This is the panel in question, and as you can see, I skipped all this to just go for an easy one. And it's Boots and Librarian. I think, I don't know, it kind of works, but the acting is sort of working, but I think it could be better. But also, I think once I put some word balloons here, and then there's something to be covering up here, so... It's sometimes hard to tell. I'm making a point of leaving more room for word balloons, but it makes the art feel awkward to me sometimes and empty, and and even stuff down here like, oh, maybe I could do something more interesting, but I don't want to because like that much is probably gonna be covered up, But yeah, mischief managed. And I've got more than a half hour done for today, Saturday, even though I did a caricature job and wasted a lot of other time, frankly. Moving on to tomorrow being Sunday. I wonder what'll happen. I don't know, but what I do know is that today is day 53. And if today is day 53, that means...
Readings indicate we have 47 days left. There's a ghost image of me because we're in the future and this is how computers work now.
Did I say 53? It's 47.